Ladies and gentlemen, hi, I'm Alice Lara, and we are doing a special edition of the Chips and Salsa Show here at the Latinos for Trump Center. And my partner in crime, Don Jorge, is over there. I don't know, I think he's going to stay behind the scenes for a while. But we're going to have quite a few guests tonight. So we thought we'd go ahead and get started. Please share this. We'll be here probably for at least the next hour talking to people. And our first guest is going to be Nick. And I just found out about this. This is very, very cool. Nick, what's your last name? I'm so sorry.
Nick Vara, V-A-R-A.
Nick Vara. So I'm Alice Lara, and he's Vara. It's
There you
Lara
go.
and Vara.
Lara and Vara.
Great. So you have this very interesting thing that I saw people walking up there, and it takes their temperature. Tell us about this invention.
Well, it's called it's a mouthful. It's called a COVID-19 body temperature scanning kiosk.
Wow.
I call it a kiosk.
Okay, yeah, it's a kiosk.
But what it does is it takes an image and scans your body temperature as you enter any facility. My thought currently is to help with schools to open up. I think it'd be a good precaution for the students and the faculty, staff, to scan everyone's temperature as they enter the school building.
Well, it looked really easy. I saw people just kind of walking up, and it said normal temperature.
That's exactly
That's all
what
it
it
does.
does. That's all it does. I have it set up very simple right now, but it has a whole gamut of functions that we can program it to do.
Oh, and maybe you heard that.
You
Steve
just
was
heard-
there, and you heard normal temperature.
Well, there you go. So yes,
It's usually hot-headed, so I don't know what's wrong with that. It might be malfunctioning. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. He's a
normally
sweet guy.
running a temperature, huh?
Here's Don Jorge, right here. He's behind the scenes.
Oh,
So,
how are you?
Hey, all right.
so you came up with this thing. What's your background for this?
I actually did not come up with it. I own a company that we do security systems, alarm systems, camera surveillance type systems, controlled access system, where you need a card to access a building. We install and service those type of systems. I'm also a grandfather, so I see my son and his wife struggling to help their kids with the homeschool, the online, and I thought we need to use technology to help get these kids back into school. So I went to the manufacturer and we came up with this product, and I think it's going to help.
I like your system. I mean, to walk right up, put your face on there, it tells you what your temperature is. That is fantastic.
Yes, and it'll notify a designated person. If I happen to be the facility manager at any school or gym or restaurant or wherever, and someone scans a high temperature, it'll notify my phone and say, hey, there is a, so-and-so, Jamie has a temperature, and it'll have her picture at the east entrance, and I can go out there and say, excuse me, you're running 102, we can't let you in.
Is it being used right now in places here?
In some cases, there are some government buildings that are using it. I don't want to say which specific buildings they are. I'm not supposed to say. But yes, there's some government buildings. I'm currently talking to some school districts and some schools.
You should talk to the county recorder. Maybe put it at the polling places so when people go in to vote, they just,
Is
we don't
that the
know.
plan? Are they going to use it at elections?
Because we don't know if they have a temperature or not. Because they come in, and we offer them a mask, and we all shield up. Because I work with the county recorder, and we're all shielded up. We have shields on, we have a mask on, we have gloves. The people come in, they can vote, and we just, we don't run a temperature check on them. But that'd be nice to have those.
Well, that idea was brought to my attention tonight, and I think it's a great idea. There's been a lot of hype on the news about, we can't vote in person because it's not safe and everything else. Well, guess what? We just put in another measure to keep everybody safe,
It's just
and you can come and vote.
And it's it's a safety measure. That's all. It's nothing major. I mean, if you're running a temperature, it's like somebody scanning you and saying you're running a temperature.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That just takes away the person with the little gun scanning you.
That's right. And
mean,
it's archived. So you can go back in if there happens to be an outbreak and they say, oh my God, it was this particular office that's where it came from. Well, that office or whatever facility can go back in the archives and say, well, we never had anyone that had a temperature. Or we did have someone, Nick came in last week, he was running 102. Well, there you go, patient 0 for that particular facility has been identified.
Plus, it's good for the facility because it shows that anybody come in with a temperature, you politely ask them, you can't come in, you're running a temperature. It shows that you're being proactive.
Yeah, and I would like for a facility or a restaurant or wherever I happen to be to tell me, because I think, oh my God, I got to go get checked. I got to get tested.
And it does adults, kids, everybody.
Yes, everyone.
And
yeah.
we have them at the stadium, the Cardinal Stadium, where they have scanners, some kind of scanners that you walk through, and they take your temperature just like that one. We have the little guns, but that's outside. Those are, as a ticket, people with tickets come in and they have to go buy one of those things. And I don't know if it's the same kind or.
It's the same concept. This one happens to have multi-functions. We can do attendance. We can open and close doors. You know, I talked about control access a while ago where you need a card. Well, if you happen to be a registered employee for a company and you get your face scanned, it'll automatically open the door for you. And it registers your time. So you no longer have to go to a time clock.
Wow.
Yeah.
You need to talk to the people at the stadium.
I
They're
agree.
really close to this.
I agree. And
So
I think
this is
we
a
need to-
brand new thing. Pretty new, huh?
It's fairly new, yeah. I mean, you know, with the times that we're living in now, we need technology to help us out. I mean, we have technology for everything else. You know, I can have a full meal in just a few seconds, but put
You
it
have
in
a
the
patent on
microwave.
this?
What's that?
You have a patent on it?
Like I said, I did not design it. I didn't build it. I'm just the local distributor and the
So whoever
integrator.
did it probably has a patent.
Oh, I'm sure.
This is something that's going to go very far.
Yeah.
Yes.
Should anyone be concerned about tracking? You know, because you say, well, I don't know if I want to do that, but it's going to track me and keep a record of it. I mean, how much information is stored in that thing?
It's all local within the facility. It's not shared, you know, beyond the facility. In other words, if we had one here designated for this place, it would only be in their database. And that's another level of security, for instance, for the schools. So if you're a registered student or faculty or staff member, it'll recognize that. But if you're a stranger, it's also going to recognize that. Imagine the tragedies that we've had in the past. If we could have identified the stranger at the door, we could have averted it.
We would know who was in there, who came in, and they all have to go in.
That's right.
Yeah, that's amazing technology.
It really is.
Wow.
This day and age, why not use technology to help us through this COVID situation?
Have you had anybody say, no, I don't think I want to use that? I mean, everybody seems like they'd be interested in using this.
Nobody has, I haven't gotten any pushback. Everyone wants to use it because they see the importance of one more layer of security. Yeah, we have the mask, we have the 6 feet, you know, we have the plexiglass in some cases, and now we have technology.
Does it take anything special? Like, do you have to have a Wi-Fi for it, or a battery, or just plug it in, or what's?
It's as simple as just plugging it in, or as complicated as adding it to your server and having it do a bunch more
Putting the data
other
in.
things. That's correct. Like this one here is self-sufficient, it's standalone, there's no database, it's not connected to any Wi-Fi or any internet. It's just here to let you know as you walk in that you're running a temperature or you're not. But I could connect it to their system, I could connect it to their database, and they can keep track, they can open doors, they can keep attendance. So there's so many levels.
That's awesome. That's great. So Nick Vada, and tell us the name of it again.
It is a COVID-19 body
I'm making him work for
temperature
this.
scanning kiosk.
Awesome.
And I'm Nick Vada with Smart Tech Security.
Smart Tech Security.
Smart Tech.
Smart Tech Security. Smart Tech. Smart. Great. So if anybody wants to find out about it, do you have a website, or should how should they
Yes,
contact you?
it's smarttechphx.com.
Awesome. Great. Anything else that I left out? I didn't ask you about?
There's so much, I could spend an hour on it, but if anyone needs some more information, just contact me. I'll be glad to give them all the information they need.
That's very cool. I'm going to go over there and get my temperature check while we switch guests.
You've been under the lights though. You might be right.
Oh, so that could affect it.
No.
No. You know, every time I've had my temperature taken for the COVID thing, if I go to an event, it's always been like at 90s, like 2 degrees. It's 98.6 the average, right? So mine's always at 96. But they say it's because of the coolness. Or
That's correct. Yeah, this one's measuring at 97 average tonight. So,
Good deal. Well, really appreciate you coming on the Chips and Salsa show.
well, thank you for having me.
Keep in touch with us. We'd love to
Certainly
have
will.
you on again in the future and do anything else.
Certainly will.
Thank you, Nick.
again.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Great. All right. That was Nick Vada, and that was his temperature checking machine. So now we're going to have our next guest, and that's going to be Josh Barnett. Did you take your temperature, Josh?
Yes.
Did you pass?
Let me see.
Right?
I'll
Okay.
do it again.
He's going to take his temperature again.
I was 98. Normal temperature.
Normal temperature.
I'm
Does
allowed-
it tell you what the temperature is there?
Yes, it's at 97.7.
That's cool.
I'm cool.
Oh, okay,
That's how
good.
cool I am. I'm under 98.6.
Nice. So he just walked up, and then it says normal temperature, and then it gives you the temperature. It's a pretty cool gadget there, right?
Yeah, it's me.
Oh,
Could use it to vote. I told him we could have it at the voting polls, the voting booths.
yeah, that's what
And you can identify you to make sure you are who you are.
I think that's exactly the plan. And George was saying, because George does elections too. Great. Well, it's going to be a full night here for Chips and Salsa Show, and we invite you to come down at the Latinos for Trump Center. We got food. Josh can attest to that. And you can come meet Josh. You can meet Nick. You can get your temperature taken if you want to. Just walk in. It's really easy. You can walk in and walk out and have your temperature taken. But our next guest here is we welcome back Josh Barnett. He's running for Congress in Congressional District Number 7, my district, and he's the Republican candidate running against the incumbent. Should I say his name?
Well, we can just call him Mayor Kate Gallego's ex-husband.
Okay, he said that. I did not. Great. But we welcome you back. Thank
Well,
you
he
so
won't
much.
debate me, so I gotta,
That's
get it
the
in somehow.
latest.
Yeah.
So tell them the story, because I love the story. I love the story. About
So
this.
PBS reached out via email and asked if I'd be interested. They were setting up debates for congressional candidates and asked if I'd be interested in debating with Gallego, and I said, of course. So they had a bunch of dates and times listed, and I told them, you let him pick out whatever day and time works for him, so I don't have to hear any excuses from him, and then we'll go from there, and I'll accommodate the time. And he's just too busy, apparently, so he declined the invitation, and
He didn't even say, hey, you can do this date or anything. He
no,
told
just
us
declined the invitation. I think it was the term they used, and PBS tried. They tried. So
Yeah, you can't fault them.
yeah, so
That's true.
that's what it is.
So no debate set up at this point. But
Yeah, they-
if
you
something
know-
changes, you're willing.
Well, when you have terrible ideas, you don't want people to know about it. When you sit down with a true conservative and you listen to his ideas versus a true conservative's ideas, it's night and day, and it's like we talked about: open borders, control borders, anarchy, law and order, freedom, socialism, capitalism, or New Green Deal. So the platform that they run on, that he runs on, I would feel that if people actually knew about it, would open their eyes. I'll say it nicely.
And that seems to be the problem, because, and you've been walking the district and doing all that, and a lot of us, let's face it, in this district, I've been here 17 years, and it's always been totally Democrat. We usually don't have an option, and we're so outnumbered. Some people don't even vote. I know a lot of Republicans don't even show up at the polls.
They're like, it's not
But
worth
now
it.
they have a candidate that actually is a good candidate.
Yeah, and that's one of my things is that it's not even about me or about my particular race in general, but it is about the people, and giving the people an option and a choice, instead of having the same stuff over and over for decades that has gotten them nowhere. It's gotten them nowhere. Democrat policies don't work. That's just a fact. They don't work. And I mean, look at Portland, look at everywhere else that has been Democrat run. They've just gone down the drain. And Phoenix is no different. I mean, we just had a shooting on a federal officer yesterday, and it was a young kid, 17 years old, that was brainwashed by the BLM movement. And that's what it was, And when you have a Democrat congressman, Democrat mayor, Democrat city council, they don't condemn the violence by Antifa or BLM. They're not condemning it. So, they have a little bit of responsibility, as well for that. Because when you don't condemn it, you're complicit.
It's very true. Now, you've been in Arizona for all your life?
11 years.
11
years, yeah.
11 years.
Yeah, I grew up in Indiana, so I moved here in 2010.
But you've always been conservative.
Yes, but you know how it is when you're younger. You're a little more.
Same here.
I wouldn't say I'm not conservative when I was younger, but I definitely was a little more. A little more, I would say liberal, more libertarian, I guess you could say.
Sure.
But I definitely, as a business owner, you understand conservative principles, especially financially or fiscally. You understand that, and you can apply it to everything else in your life.
Awesome. Okay, so if you live in Congressional District 7, that's the South Mountain area and surrounding community, would love if you vote for Josh Barnett. Maybe you don't. That's okay, because you know what? You can still support him. Because if Josh gets elected and he goes to Congress, guess what? He is going to be representing all of you in Congress. So just kind of keep that in mind as you think about it. Because you might be thinking, oh, what the heck, I'm going to vote, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it really can matter. It really can.
Yeah, and I'm a true conservative. You know, I what I say is what I do, and very much. I mean, like Donald Trump, that's one thing I love about him is the fact that, you know, promises made, promises kept, and that's how I feel politically. That, you know, we have a lot of politicians that say one thing, do another, as we all know, and I'm not that guy. You know, if I say something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow through with it. It may take a while. You know, there's obviously steps in between, but I'm going to see it through to the end. You know, much like I did with my business and reopening others, you know, to protect them and get their businesses open so they don't lose their entire life's work.
And I think that's really important, the fact that you are a business owner, very successful, might I add, and to do that. So you've gone through all that, and you've gone now through this C-19, I don't even like to call it this.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah. The China virus.
The China virus. And you've done that. And while you're out there talking to the community and your potential constituents, is there, what are they telling you? What is mainly on their mind? Is it the economy? Is it COVID-19? What's going on?
Yeah, it's definitely the economy. I think people are concerned about another shutdown or another lockdown, which we won't get into all that right now. But I have my opinions on that. But you know, it's definitely because it's money. You know, without money, you can't do anything. You know, and people are concerned about jobs and opportunity, and wage increases that we were seeing prior to. You know, and they want to make sure that they have some type of almost like a promise. Hey, we're gonna not lock down anymore. We're gonna bring jobs back, and it's happening. You know, it's happening. It's happening here in Arizona. It's happening across the country. And, you know, it's going to take a little more time, but I think by the time the election comes, we're at 8.4%. It wouldn't surprise, you know, to see us at 6, you know, in the 60s. So that would be phenomenal, considering you take Obama, it took an entire shutdown of our entire country to reach Obama levels at 8.4%.
I like that. That's worth repeating.
You know, and one thing too, I heard this a while back. I forget, it was on Will Cal or Mark Levin or somebody, maybe Tucker, but in 3 months, we regained 9 million jobs, okay? Under Trump, 3 months, 9 million back. It took Obama over 5 years to recoup 9 million jobs. It's the slowest economic recovery in history because Democrat policies don't work. Increased taxes and regulation and regulating everything, trying to control everything doesn't work. Lowering taxes, more money in your pocket, you can cut the payroll tax, which I support, and also deregulating wherever we possibly can is how you keep an economy booming and how people thrive. And that's what I truly believe in. I think those principles have held true over time, and that's the difference between a Republican and a Democrat right now.
And that is a fantastic commercial to have Republicans in office and to keep Trump in office as well. Too, if you could just get that message to everyone, because not everyone, people don't have time to pay attention to politics. So if there's somehow you could get that message to, that would be so great.
Yeah.
I want to let you know we're going to have up next. We're going to have Marquez, who's running for the Arizona Corporation Commission, and we're excited about that. So we'll have her up in just a few minutes. But we wanted to introduce you to Josh again. You know, he comes back. He's kind of a regular on our show, and we want you to go to his website.
Yeah, it's Barnett for AZ.com, and I'm here almost every Thursday for Latino for Trump night. I'm basically here almost every Thursday, so come talk, ask questions, challenge me if you want.
And in 2 weeks on a Tuesday, I hope you're here. They're going to have
It's
Trevor
debate night.
Debate night. Trevor Loudon's going to be here.
Trevor Loudon.
And also the Hispanic Assembly is going to be here.
Republican National Hispanic Assembly is going to have.
So it's going to be.
So who's going to be debating? Who's going to debate? Or who's the moderator?
Well,
Trump and Biden.
It's going to be.
It's going to be
The 29th, excuse me. The actual
the
debate.
real debate.
Well, it won't be a real debate.
They say it's going to be.
Trump has to be careful not to look like a bully.
I know.
Because it's going to be that bad. It's I really believe after that debacle, whatever you want to call it, after that, it's going to be night and day. It's going to be very clear who you should vote for.
Right. I believe
Chris
it.
Wallace is going to be.
He has to be careful.
Oh, yes, you're right. Oh, my goodness.
He has to be careful because they're thinking of all kinds of little angles how to make Trump look bad at that debate.
Well, when I hear Chris Wallace's voice, I turn the channel. So that's how much I feel about him. But hopefully he'll, for once in his life, be fair to Trump and be fair in this debate. And Trump can hold his own. No matter what Chris throws at him, Trump's going to fire back and hold his own, so it'll be okay.
I have a lot of confidence in
Yes,
President Trump.
yes.
And you know what I was thinking about this today? We always say Trump, Trump, Trump. We need to start saying President Trump.
Yes.
And just, Biden, we can say Biden.
I always, when I go online, I
Come to
always
mention
put
Joe.
President Donald J. Trump. I give him the respect that he deserves. A lot of people just say Trump. A lot of people say,
We're just very comfortable
I
with
think
that.
I always put President Trump.
Yeah,
Like I
that's
try
it.
to listen. I don't know. When I tweet something, I always put President Trump or give him that title because he's earned it.
It's just that everybody's so used to calling him Trump or calling him, because they love him.
Well, in all the rap songs I put on my thing today, they had a compilation of 67 rap songs before 2015, and it had Trump in it. From Lil Wayne to Ice Cube. Ice Cube's always speaking out against him, but he was always one rapping about Trump and how much money he had, how great he was. But it had all this compilation, and I posted it because I thought it was kind of funny. Even Eminem was talking about Trump.
I mean, that says something. What was the group that did when we did the MAGA drag for this? And somebody did a video, and then they had the guys, and it was first you start listening. I'm like, I'm not into hip hop. I don't like that. No, I was listening to lyrics. They were supportive of President Trump.
Yeah, there's some out there. There's some out there, but it's not cool. It's not cool. If Trump would have ran as a Democrat, they'd all love him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It is what it is. They can hate him all he wants. He's going to win. That's all that matters.
All right. Do you have some closing words for us, or anything that something coming up? Any events coming up? That people
Well, we constantly are having things going on, but I just go to the website. You can check it out. We keep everything updated on there with the events, to information, child trafficking, to school choice and other information that people can look into that are going to directly affect this district.
I want to commend you guys because you started sending out the e-blast, and whoever is putting those together are doing a fantastic job. You want to get on this e-blast list.
Yes.
And it's very succinct.
It's good, isn't it?
Point.
Yeah.
Good stories you can click on, keeps you up to date, always tells a little bit about Josh, and that way if you want to pass those on to others, you can certainly do that. Great, and we're just about ready to
Get
talk
over
to
here?
Leah, so we'll get over here.
Okay.
Josh,
All right. Thank
thanks
you,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you
As
so
always,
much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be back again. Josh Barnett, Congressional District number 7. All right, we are ready for Leah. Commissioner Marquez, would you like to come on up? Come on down. I feel like that game show. Come on down. Right. So please, you're welcome to come on down to the Latinos for Trump Center, 2070 East Baseline. We got lots of food here. The only thing that's missing is a piñata of Biden. Come on in.
A lot of chips and salsa here
That's right,
today.
lots of chips and salsa.
Come on down. 2070 East Baseline.
Right. We'd like to introduce our next guest. It's my pleasure, our honor, to have Arizona Corporation Commissioner Leah Marquez Peterson.
Yeah, thank
Welcome
you.
to the
Thanks
Chips
for
and
having
Salsa
me.
Show.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank
Can
you.
we do this?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Welcome
absolutely.
to the show.
Thank you.
Great, awesome.
To the molcajete.
Welcome to the
That's right.
Molcajete.
That works.
That's
This
what
is
we
called
are.
the
This is the
Molcajete.
first time you've gotten to be on our show. Woohoo!
I
We're
think so.
excited.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here.
Excellent, and we hope that you'll come back.
Yeah.
So, just to explain for our audience, because we have audience from all over the country. In the state of Arizona, we have 5 corporation commissioners, and they're different in different states. Ours are elected. In some states, they are appointed, like in New Mexico. And you guys are kind of like another little branch of government over utilities, communications, railroads, and things like that.
Very
Is that-
good.
is that
Yes,
a
yeah.
synopsis?
We regulate the utility industry, so that's electric, water, gas, wastewater. We do railroad and pipeline safety, and then for the small business owners listening, we do all the business incorporations. So something that's always an annual report that people file, they come through the Corporation Commission.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a place.
It is. Yeah, we've got a lot of activities going on.
So you are running for corporation commissioner. I think there's 3 up for election.
Right.
And of course, we're here because she is a conservative Republican, and you explain a little bit about your history, how you got in there,
Sure.
and why you would like to run again and keep your job.
Yeah, so I actually am from Southern Arizona. I'm the former president of the Tucson Hispanic Chamber, and we represented thousands of businesses down in that area, and own small businesses myself. It's kind of in our family history. I own gas stations and convenience stores and a business brokerage firm. I also ran for Congress as a Republican in CD2. Happy to win a 4-way primary. Lost the general election, unfortunately. But as I was coming out of that race, the governor reached out and appointed me to the Corporation Commission. There was a vacancy. Very honored. I'm the first Latina in the history of Arizona in a statewide role. When he appointed
Is
me
that
to
right?
yeah, that's shocking.
You
in
know that. Way to
2019.
go.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very
Yes.
nice.
Thank you. So, I have been now appointed for a year, working with. We do about 70 to 80 rate cases a year. Really focused on affordability and how we protect Arizonans from and keeping our utilities accountable. It's been very interesting because this is also the time we've been dealing with the pandemic with COVID-19, and people are really having a hard time. So whatever I can do to assist and provide customer relief has really been my focus. And I'm statewide. Though there are 5 of us, we don't have certain districts. We cover the entire state.
So you represent everyone. So like,
Right.
don't worry about it. If you live in Flagstaff, and, you know, maybe she lives down here in the Phoenix area, you can still call her office and bug her.
That's right, you can.
Absolutely. What is something that people out there probably don't know about your office?
Oh,
You
gosh.
know,
Well, we're called the Arizona Corporation Commission, so a lot of people connect that to the business and corporation piece. If you live in the Phoenix area, they assume we do majority APS issues, which is the big electric company here. What people don't realize is there are many electric companies in the state. There are more than 300 water companies in the state, and we regulate those, as well as wastewater and gas and so on. So I don't think people understand the breadth of the work that we do at the Corporation Commission. It's also an important place for people to weigh in. You can write us emails, you can comment on Facebook. I mean, I capture all that data, whether you come down to the office to lobby on behalf of a utility rate case or not. We want to really hear from folks throughout the entire state.
and I know that you do your meetings online, so you know maybe you live in Flagstaff somewhere and you can't get down there, but you can watch all the meetings online.
You can. We're doing it all virtual at azcc.gov. You can file a letter. You can watch the meetings there. You can read and find out exactly what we worked on that week. So all of it's virtual.
So tell our audience why they really should vote for you over the other guys. Now, there are 3 Republicans running, and we support all 3. Jim O'Connor is the other one.
O'Connor.
Eric Sloan.
Right.
I saw him at the forum, and we can talk about the forum in a little bit too,
Yeah,
because she was
sure.
actually on the panel for the President Trump,
Mhm.
Latinos Trump Forum. But why should someone say, oh, okay, you know what, Leah's my gal. This is why she really needs to stay there.
And I'll tell you why it's important we keep our Republican majority and we vote for our 3 Republicans and myself moving forward. It's because there's a lot at stake. I mean, this position determines Arizona's energy future. So think of the bills in your own home. You know, you certainly have your mortgage, but probably number 2 or number 3 are your utility expenses. So we need commissioners that are focused on affordability for families. If you've also watched the news over the last several weeks, you've seen the California rolling blackouts discussed. That is from, I think, lack of preparation and leadership in California in terms of not having the excess energy during peak demand time, so the hottest time of the year. Not only did California have a heat wave, but the entire region had a heat wave. You remember how hot it was in
Yeah.
Phoenix those couple days.
Right.
So I immediately called an emergency meeting and pulled our utility CEOs in to talk about how they were prepared. Could they assure Arizonans we wouldn't see those same type of blackouts or spikes in prices? And I think you need commissioners like myself who are going to really, again, protect Arizonans in situations like that.
That would suck here. Rolling blackout. You know how hot it gets here
Imagine, yeah.
sometimes.
No
and
air
it's just,
conditioning, no lights, and that happened in California to millions of people.
Yeah, and we broke some records this summer. Right? We had
Yeah.
some really hot
it was
temperatures.
hot. I've gone without the air conditioning just one day, and oh man, it's like
I
gotta
can't
run
imagine.
outside, jump in the pool or something. It's
Yeah.
crazy. You know, that's why the air conditioning companies are overwhelmed here, because when the heat comes, it comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to have your house cooled down.
We definitely understand heat.
The rolling blackouts, it just goes. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
How long do they usually last, the rolling blackouts?
I've never lived through one or experienced one, thank goodness, in Arizona, and we don't want to. But in California, they did several hours for people, or they would do an afternoon and move it throughout the state so that not one community had to have, several days out. That's what made them rolling. They moved around, but we don't want that here. We need to make sure that we've got, appropriate energy levels that are affordable and sustainable for us.
Awesome. The other question that I want to ask you is to help people understand. So we have the Arizona legislature, and they write the laws, basically. But you guys are kind of over, what kind of power do you have, I should say? What kind of policies and things
question.
like that?
So we are actually written into the Arizona Constitution. So we're unusual in that regard. So rather than the many votes you need to get in the state legislature to pass a law, we only need three commissioners to pass policy or different rules within our commission. We are a different animal in that we're judicial kind of / legislative. So we are weighing in on rate cases like a judge would. We're voting on different cases throughout the year that are related to securities fraud or utility rate cases and different issues like that. We're also legislative, so we have policy making authority in addition to that. So we're a little different than the state legislature or even the executive branch.
You know, we're fortunate today, we're doing it down here at the Latinos for Trump Center. So we have an audience, so if anybody out there has a question, please let us know, raise your hand, and offer a question. Great.
I do have a question.
Come on up here so we can hear you.
Okay.
So we're calling on our audience to ask a question.
Maybe you covered it. I'm sorry, I'm Paul from Phoenix.
Yeah.
You were talking about the different corporation commissioners. How often are you voted or elected, or how often does that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm running now for a 4-year term. So every term, every 4 years, we elect either 3 or we elect 2. So last cycle you saw this, there were only 2 seats open. This time there are 3. The current makeup of the board, the 5 of us, there are 4 Republicans, 1 Democrat. So it's vitally important, again, we keep that Republican majority. So we need to support all 3 candidates and move us forward.
And when is the next election?
So that would be in 2024.
Okay, so you just got elected.
So I was appointed. So I've been appointed a year. So when I run now, my seat will be up again in 2024. In 2022, you'll have the 2 other seats open.
So they staggered the term.
Got
Yeah, so that we're not all moving at the same time. Yeah. Have a
Thank
good
you, Paul.
question.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Anybody else have a question? And if you think of something, that's okay. We'll just keep talking a little bit. And
Just raise your hand.
Feel free to come on up
Yeah.
here.
Yes,
Come
so
on
if
down.
you have, about schools, to have the children have the technology so they can do their homework during the COVID.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, a role that maybe I should have answered this way when you said what's surprising for a lot of people in Arizona is that we have a limited jurisdiction with telecommunications. So the federal government, the FCC, manages pricing, but I've been particularly worried about broadband access, especially in rural and vulnerable populations. Right now, we're all living virtually, a lot of us are, working remotely, we're going to school online, but if you don't have high-speed internet, you're at a real disadvantage. So throughout this summer, I've been sitting on a broadband emergency task force for the state, where we've been talking about the great work the Arizona State Libraries are doing to provide high-speed public Wi-Fi, how to get technology help. And then I also serve on a national task force that's focused on what are best practices happening throughout the different states, because we're all struggling with this. We have over 1 million people in Arizona without high-speed internet. So just
Is that right?
Yeah,
That seems
about
hard to
a lot
believe.
of our rural communities and tribal communities. And actually I have a map, if anyone's interested, you can email me, that shows you exactly where we lack high-speed internet throughout the state.
Wow.
Takes a lot of money to lay the fiber. We're waiting on new technologies, but today students need high-speed internet.
So like they're plugging in their phones to use the internet or something? Or?
Well, there are lots of things. One thing is
Wow.
that, like the smartphone you have in your lap, that could be a hotspot, and not everyone knows that. So if you are working with children or your grandchildren and can turn on the hotspot and they can be utilizing their Chromebook that way that the school's given them, just trying to educate people that they don't realize that that's an opportunity.
Now, is this area here one of the spots that our children in the elementary doesn't have the high speed?
Unfortunately, it's a lot of school districts have those gaps. The lower income communities certainly, have a lot of those challenges, because if you're deciding between paying your rent or your mortgage and food and clothing, and then you've got that internet bill, sometimes that's not affordable. One thing I'd want to point out to people are 2 resources. If you're listening or watching and you need help, there is connect-arizona.com. So connect-arizona.com. If you click on that, you can see all the public Wi-Fi spots in the entire state and see resources. And then most every telecommunication firm offers a low-income option. So for $9.95 a month, so dramatically, if you qualify, you can get internet services. So if you're not paying right now for internet and that's something that's affordable, please contact your telecommunications company.
That's great information, because I can't imagine. Our Wi-Fi went down for a little bit, and it was like a few hours, and you depend on it for so much, and then
Yeah.
even like what I had to do, I had to take my phone and reset it because I had to use my phone for the Wi-Fi because I'm using Wi-Fi, and it's inconvenient and we don't like that.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine if you don't have access to
Could
it.
it ever get to like in the old days where the TV, all you needed was a TV, hook it up and it had an antenna on top of your roof, and you were able to watch television?
Yeah, but the channels came in snowy, remember?
Yeah, at this point, and in my case, at my home, we've cut that cord and we actually use the internet for TV.
Right,
So
so-
if internet goes down, we're in trouble.
Yeah, so do we, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, in the future, would it ever get to the point where everybody has internet, everybody has Wi-Fi?
Perhaps,
Affordable.
unfortunately with internet, you need that fiber connection. And so some communities, again, rural and tribal communities, don't have the hard wire. So they're waiting for new technologies like 5G and others to
That's
help.
what I was going to ask you about, the 5G. Do you have an opinion on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm supportive of all new technologies and innovation. I'm excited to see where the world goes over the next 10, 20 years related to internet and utilities, as an example. But what I understand from 5G is you still need the fiber connection to a port, and then from there it provides fast speed internet. So there's still a fiber piece to that costs money and has complications to it, and it's complex. So on this statewide task force, we've been working on finding resources, whether it's federal government grants, foundations, that would help particular areas. And that's been really important, and we're going to continue that work throughout the rest of pandemic and beyond.
That's great. I know that a lot of you, the commissioners, there's so much that they do, and there's so much information that you have. And I think your advisors, like I knew of a young man that used to work there, they've got to be pretty sharp and top notch.
Yeah, I've got an excellent advisor and deputy policy advisor. But yeah, together we're a team, so we're working through all the issues that are on upcoming agendas, special open meetings, public comment sessions, things like that, direct with my policy advisor.
I'm
my
giving the
deputy.
audience somebody else to call instead of just her direct. You can call.
Yeah,
talk to your
that's right.
advisor.
Right.
I want to talk to you also because I was lucky enough to go to the Monday Latino Forum. Okay,
Oh,
so
great.
Trump was in town here for those of you watching from out of state, and it was a special round table of Latinos, and Leah sat on there, and you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
It was great. If anybody got to watch it out there, it was good. You had a really good story, and it was very cool to have the president up there, and you got to actually. You had met him
Yeah.
before? Had you met him before?
I have been to Hispanic Heritage events at the White House since he's been in office, so I'd seen him before, but that's a room of a couple hundred people. I mean, imagine the honor when you're told you're going to be in a panel of 12 people with the president sitting in the center, and you have 2 minutes to talk to him. I was, wow. So, I mean, what an honor, really exciting. It was so neat to see the passion in the room and the
Lot of passion.
exuberance and dancing and all this stuff as people were waiting for him to come out. The particular items I talked about were thanking him for the Tax and Jobs Act, because having run a large chamber of commerce that had a lot of Latino-owned businesses and small businesses in southern Arizona, that meant a lot to my members. They were able to buy new equipment and hire new employees because of the Tax and Jobs Act. So I wanted to thank him for that. Because I come from southern Arizona, which is along the Mexican border, I also wanted to stress how important the USMCA was, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. And honestly, when NAFTA was being renegotiated, I was very nervous. Arizona does more than $16 billion in trade with Mexico. That's just Arizona and Mexico. I thought, oh no, what are we going to do if this doesn't turn out? But he came in with a better agreement with the USMCA, so wanted to make sure that I got that in and was able to thank him also. So what an honor to get 2 minutes to talk directly to
Yeah,
the
you
most
guys, I don't know
powerful
how
man in
you
the
guys
world.
did it, because you guys just rattled away for 2 minutes, and I mean, you covered every base that
Yeah.
pertaining to you. It's like when Sergio was up there,
Yeah.
and Sergio, he spoke, and he covered every base that was important within those 2 minutes. And the president was so attentive, and he would address just you after you spoke and stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
and he was like really listening,
And
It was-
I'd say the organizers did an incredible job, because you had a representative of law enforcement and education and people telling their immigration stories,
Yeah.
and we covered so many different areas.
Don't you think also, Leah, just watching it was great, and they had I don't know, there were 10 people up there or something. And to me, the underlying theme of that all, because the president, like you said, the president sat there and took it in, everybody was able to pretty much say, I am successful. They might have had hard luck stories, like you say, of immigration or business and, this COVID-19 stuff. But the underlying theme was, because we have a good president in there, a conservative Republican president, that allows for great policies and opportunity to stay there, and that's why we've got to re-elect Trump. But I felt like that was kind of the underlying theme, and you
I think
just
it
presented
was.
it very well. all
I
of
think
you.
you're right. I think I heard American freedoms, opportunities, that theme through every, conversation, regardless of the area they were talking.
Yeah.
It was really, really exciting.
Right.
A memorable experience, right?
Absolutely, got all your
And
pictures.
just watching
taken
it,
with
it
you.
was, it was memorable. And I watched it from home, and if I would have been there, it would have been great too.
It was very exciting. I got to go. Jamie got to go. Jamie's out there. I know she's somewhere. Am I ignoring the audience? Anybody have a question that I haven't thought of? Okay, it's an opportunity there too. What would you like to tell the voter out there? Because one of the things that I'm concerned about is I really want to encourage people to get out there and vote, because I think sometimes there's elections that happen and we could have got that election if just a few more people had gotten out there.
Yeah, and I think I'd have the same message that, elected officials, appointed officials like myself, we're making decisions every day that impact your pocketbook, your life, your family, your home. So it's vitally important that we show up to vote, and it's not just vote the top of the ticket. I know there's so much excitement about the presidential race, the U.S. Senate race, but keep working your way down through that. And I know I saw here Jamie has a golden ticket that gives a lot of suggestions on who you can vote for. There are a lot of resources out there. If you have questions on the Arizona Corporation Commission race, certainly you can go to my website, which is voteforlea.com, voteforlea.com, kept it simple, and I can give you information on the other candidates too.
Awesome. Voteforlea.com. Make sure you do that. Great. Any questions from you?
Oh, I see you answered them.
Right here. Any other questions? Because I know that you have a busy schedule. If you'd like to send her a few bucks, we're always all about that with the candidates, because they all need help.
Yeah,
Right, or you
in
already
my
claimed- no,
case,
you
I'm
already
a
claimed
clean
that.
elections candidate,
Oh,
so
that's
I can't
right,
take
John.
any bucks, but I'll take your votes.
So that's even easier. You don't have to worry about giving her money.
Just spread my name and what
Yeah.
the commission does, and would appreciate your support.
Awesome. Thank you.
Clap your hands.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good. Okay, I think we're gonna have, maybe we'll have Gina on next. I think I saw Monica. Monica came in, but we'll save Monica for last. Right? Okay, good deal. Excellent. Okay, next up is my good friend Gina Savoda. And can I tell him our joke about your last name?
Oh God, here we go. Go ahead. Only because I love Alice.
Okay, so Gina.
None of the rest of you have authorization to do this.
That's
Only
right.
the amazing Alice.
Maybe I
Love.
shouldn't tell him. Maybe it's just private. This is Gina Savoda. Okay, and Gina Savoda used to work for the Arizona Secretary of State. And so I actually work for lobbyists, so I have to do the lobbyist reports. And when you find somebody that knows their stuff, that's what you do, okay? And that way you can call them if you have a question you're not sure, because this is government you're dealing with and you want to get things right. So Gina was my source. But I always thought when I call her, it's Gina Savoda, and I couldn't help but always think of Slow Boat to China. Sorry, that's my
Hello,
dumb
do you
joke.
see what I'm
I
saying?
know
So
it's
real-
stupid and dumb, but I had to share it. All right.
But I talk fast.
That's right. Gina has a new job though, and she's the perfect person for this. So tell the audience about what your job is and what you're doing, woman.
So I am the state director for Election Day operations for the Trump campaign. My My job is to identify possible points of failure in the election system, to account for them, to defend against them. Every
That's
vote,
a big job.
It is, and it's the whole state. Every vote that gets cast needs to be accurately tabulated. Everybody votes once. Every one of those votes gets counted once.
Wow, that's a big job. But she is the best person to do that. Now you have a wonderful website too.
Yes, defendyourballot.com. This is the Trump campaign's website. When you go to that page, it will redirect you to an Army for Trump webpage. The drop down where you can select how do I want to help President Trump, it automatically fills in Election Day volunteer. So you go to defendyourballot.com, redirects you to Army for Trump. The drop down is pre-filled out Election Day volunteer. You fill in your information. I will get it on my end. I will send you an email. We have a training video. It'll come to you in an email. You check a little box. It says, I support President Trump. I will abide by the laws of Arizona and federal law, and we will get you scheduled. we need poll observers. These are volunteer positions all across the state of Arizona for every day from the first day of early voting, which is on October 7th, all through the 27 days of early voting. Then we need people on election day, and then we need people from when they start to process those ballots all the way through tabulation, and that's probably going to go at least until November 10th in Maricopa County. Every step of the way, if we're there, we can feel good about the process. It has to be transparent. Elections are all about perception. This country is built on our faith in the elections process. If we feel that anything is going awry, we won't have confidence in the results. It's an open partnership. It's important that we work together, but we need to be there. In New York, I moved from New York 25 years ago. I love everything about this state. I want it to stay exactly the way it is. There's when you play the lotto in New York City, there was a tagline that said, you have to be in it to win it. You have to be in it to win it. It's not enough to vote. It's important to vote. We need you to vote. We want you to vote. Please, if you have 5 hours of your time on any one of the almost 35 days when we need you, please go to defendyourballot.com. We'll try to place you near your home at a time that's convenient for you. If we're there every step of the way, it's more likely to go well.
These are all volunteer positions.
Yes.
Right? And certain age? Do you have to
No.
be 18?
You do need to be a registered voter in the county in which we place you. So yes, you would need to be 18 years old on election day in order to vote in that election and thus to serve as a poll observer.
Good. So, I'm a person, I'm so old-fashioned. I've never voted. I voted early like one time, I think, in my whole life. That's because I was working at the radio station, and that's before the internet and all that good stuff that we all use.
Right.
But I like to go in the day of the election and vote and put my ballot in the machine and all that good stuff. So, I like to encourage people to do that, but do you feel comfortable?
I agree with that. So there's a huge difference between states that have not done vote by mail, attempting at the last minute to do universal vote by mail. Their system's not set up for it. People haven't asked to do it. These people didn't ask for a ballot. As the president says, we don't want millions of extra ballots floating around the country. Arizona has done this well for many years. That being said, a lot of our voters, particularly on this side of the aisle, are not comfortable with dropping their ballot in the mail in this cycle. What I would recommend, and listen, we have a lot of ways to vote in Arizona, make sure that you vote, but if you're going to drop that early ballot in its envelope, please try not to do it on election day. Do it one of the 27 early days. There are early vote centers open for 27 days prior to election day. Let's take Maricopa. If you're in Maricopa and you get your ballot in the mail and you vote it and you seal it and you sign it, put your phone number on there, because if they have a question about your signature, you want them to be able to reach you. Try to get to one of the 180 vote centers that will be open and drop it then. You can sign up with Maricopa to get a text for every phase of the process that your ballot goes through. The good thing about dropping it off early and not on election day is that at 8 o'clock on November 3rd, when those first results are released, it's those ballots that were already dropped off. They've already been processed, they've already been tabulated. When you wait until the last day, election day, and you drop it on election day, that's what's creating the delay in the results, and that's when we're seeing a swing. So it has to go through, remember, signature verification. They have to cut it, open it, separate it, tabulate it. If there's a stray mark or the machine can't read it for some reason, then it has to go to a board of people, Democrat and Republican, looking at that and saying, what did this voter intend to do? They have to recreate it. That's going to take time. If 500,000 voters on the ground, and again, I'm going to pick on Maricopa, if 500,000 voters on the ground drop that on election day, that is going to cause a delay in the results of at least a week. So when we're waiting and we're wondering and we're worrying, that's part of it. So I totally get people don't want to drop it in the mail. Please try to drop it off at any of the vote centers that'll be open for 27 days ahead of time. But I'm like you, I like to feed it in the machine. I'm not gonna lie. And those results come out on election night. If you're feeding it into the machine on election night, there are data cards, and couriers, again, someone from each party, will take that card back to the tabulation center, and we will get those results that night or the next day.
Good, and people need to know how that works. I'm glad that you mentioned that. One thing you and I have talked about this, and by the way, audience, if you have a question, just raise your hand. We're happy to take questions, okay? But one of the things that you and I have talked about is I might think about having an absentee ballot if I knew I could go that day, say that, because I always think, oh, what if somebody dies, or the last minute I'm convinced to vote for somebody different. That's one of the reasons I like to do it the
The
day
October surprise scenario that happened in the presidential preference election. So there were people across the country that voted for Elizabeth Warren, and they voted early, and then she dropped out. And then they called and said, we would like to vote again. I'm sorry.
Can't do it.
You can't do it. You get one shot.
But I would like to devise this, and I actually have talked to our Republican recorder candidate,
Stephen
Richard, because and maybe he'll come tonight, who knows. And what I'd like to do is I would get an absentee ballot if I could take it the day of the election and hand it to somebody who right then could verify my vote and do that. But they say that's really difficult to do.
The reason for that is the signature verification piece, and as a protection within the system itself, there are timing marks. If you ever look at your ballot, there are a bunch of black bars all around the outside. They're called timing marks, and the tabulators read them. And the ballots that are sent to you in the mail have timing marks that prevent them from being read by an on-site tabulator. And that is to ensure there's no shenanigan involved where somebody takes somebody else's ballot and wanders in and tabulates it. The signature review and the technology, that's part of the issue with that. Now you can, in Maricopa only, so this is interesting, I'm glad you brought this up. In 14 of the 15 counties, if you are on the mail ballot list and you have been mailed a ballot, on election day only now, if you walk in on election day and they look you up in the e-poll book, they see we have mailed you a ballot. Maricopa has lifetime access to back to the center for the e-poll book, so they know whether or not they've already gotten your ballot. Maricopa will let you vote a live ballot on election day, even if you have already been mailed a ballot. Yes, and they will tabulate it on site. So if you're one of the people who, now you can also bring in the ballot that you got in the mail as a sample ballot. I don't recommend that. I just don't like to people wandering in with it, but you're allowed, to use that. Every voter every household that has a registered voter is mailed a sample ballot already. So you can use that to record how you want to vote and go in with that. But yes, in Maricopa only, election day, you walk in, you've already been mailed a ballot, they'll let you vote a regular live ballot and tabulate it through the machine.
So then, of course, there's no problem like if somebody lied about it and then they mailed it like the day before.
What will happen is whichever ballot gets there first, that's the one that's counted. So when they log it through, they know it's you. They check you in when you go in to vote in person. So you've been checked into the e-poll book. They show that you came in and voted already. So let's say you, theoretically, dropped a mail ballot in one vote center and then went to another vote center and said, I haven't voted and I'm going to come and vote live. When they get that mail ballot back, they will look it up. They'll scan the envelope and they'll see this person checked in at a vote center and voted, and they will not count that ballot.
Yep.
It's a very sophisticated system.
Yep, it is.
Checks and balances like anything else in our government.
Yep, it is. It works because I work for the county recorder. I'm a troubleshooter, so.
Oh, right on.
So
Thank
I
you.
see it all the time. A lot of people come, I don't want to vote, or I left because they say, what about the ballot I have at the house? That's not going to count. You can use it for wallpaper if you want. Even if you went home and you filled out that form and mailed it, the one at the voting center takes priority because it's already in the system and it shows that you're voting in person. It voids the one at home, and it works. It actually works. Or if you lost your ballot or something, like you said, the first one that reaches the county recorder's office and gets recorded is the one that counts. If that one mailed to you gets there, and you got to you went to the polling place and tried to vote, it'll come out invalid. You cannot vote. And if you insist on voting, we'll let you vote provisionally. But when that provisional vote gets back to Maricopa County, they're going to say, well, no, we counted her vote prior to her going over there. That one that she did provisionally doesn't count.
That's right.
So it's very, very specific.
Absolutely, Judge. And they must, so by law, by federal law, and I always use this analogy, I like this idea. If 3 Weimaraner dogs stood on each other and put in a raincoat and put on a hat and walked into a polling place and said, woof, you must let them vote. They'll get a conditional provisional ballot, but it's a federal law that anybody who walks into any voting place must be allowed to fill out a ballot. That doesn't mean it's going to get counted. Conditional, provisional, you didn't have ID, you said woof, we don't know who you are, we're not going to count.
Yeah, even
But
if you think you're getting away with something.
even if
you're not.
you're not getting away with anything. It's the law. Everybody has to have that opportunity in this country.
Yeah, we don't turn nobody around. Even
That's
if
right.
they say, even if the machine says they voted.
If they insist, they'll, but
You
it
can
will
vote,
not
but
be counted.
Only provisional, and it
That's
might
right.
not count. We tell them it might not count, or if you voted before. And
We
it
know
don't
we're
count,
not going
it's
to
not
count it,
gonna
but
count.
you're going to
But-
insist, we're going to, exactly.
but we let them vote. I mean, we have to let them vote. Anyway.
What's the latest? I thought there was something that I read, and of course, when you do the mail-in ballot, absentee ballots, what really we have in Arizona, but they get it late. They get it late.
You have to request it. You have to request an absentee ballot 11 days prior to election day. Now, if you do that, you don't want to mail back, okay? Because the odds of it getting back are low. You would want to go and drop that in person. Just voter registration deadline. If you have moved from one county to another county, you must register in the new county. You must do it 29 days prior to election day. So please, October 5th is the deadline. Make sure that you've re-registered in the new county. If you've changed precincts, you can still vote. You'll go vote in the new precinct where you live. You will bring a utility bill or a bank statement dated within 90 days of the election, and you will have your ID with your old address, your government issued photo ID. You will vote provisional in most counties, and then they will use that provisional to change your address. In Maricopa, again, the technology allows you to change your address on site with the proper evidence of residence, citizenship, and identity. So if you have those three things, you go to your new precinct, they change your address on site. In Maricopa, in this election, it's all vote centers. That's because of the COVID. We've closed the precincts for safety reasons and because we couldn't get enough poll workers in the last part of this cycle. So at a vote center, you can vote at any vote center. It doesn't matter where you live or what your precinct is. You go into the vote center, you have your proper, valid, government-issued photo ID, you'll get to vote.
It's a ballot on demand. The computer prints out the ballot for your particular area where you live. It's like if people are running in your area that are not running in another area, it prints out a ballot for your area. So they're called ballot on demand. So as soon as you punch in the information, you walk up to the table, the machine will print out a ballot. We don't have pre-printed ballots anymore. They're just printed on demand from the copy. Well, I call them copy. The big copy.
That's what they look
machines.
like, a giant copier.
And they.
But they know what school district you're in. So like you might have a special wastewater district election where you live, or the school district where you live, or a bond issue where you live. When it scans your ID, or you show your utility bill or your cable bill or your bank statement to verify your address, it knows where you are, and it will print that ballot, your ballot for your area with your races, your CD, your LD. It knows who you are. It will give you the races on your ballot. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, they used to have 20, 30 different ballots sometimes.
At each precinct.
Tribal, Indian, all kinds of ballots. Now they don't have that. It's all
So
ballot
to be
on demand.
pre-printed.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that saves a lot of money on paper.
A lot of money. I think there were over 800 ballot styles in the last cycle.
A lot of paper. We have a question for the audience.
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yeah, I had a question. I was a registered Republican in California, and when I moved probably a year ago, I re-registered out here, but I got an email from California to check my voter status out there, and it still lists me as active.
You
Now,
should.
Are your systems set up to catch those kind of mistakes?
Yes. So when you register to vote in Arizona, it asks you if you're registered to vote anywhere else. And you would say, yes, California. And we send a voter cancellation notice. The Secretary of State or the county recorder will send to the Secretary of State or the Board of Registrars in the other state a notification to cancel you. So there's a database that talks to each other amongst the states, and it has a record of everybody who registers to vote. Sometimes data is delayed. I always recommend, when people used to call us up the SOS, notify your prior state that you have left and registered to vote in the new state, because you can't count on the data going quickly. If they get into a backlog, they might have, a series of voter cancellations that they need to enter and forward to their county recorder, and it might not get there. Best practice, you yourself notify your prior state? That's an excellent question, sir. Yes, there
And
are
I wanna
databases that talk to you.
Welcome a Republican from California.
And by the way, thank you. We need you.
Bring
Woo!
more.
Balance, yes. We want you. We need you. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. So if I did have a mail-in ballot, absentee ballot, what if the mail didn't get there in time and it gets there after Election Day?
The current state of Arizona law, there's actually litigation going on right now. The Navajo Nation has filed litigation because mail is very slow on the reservation, and they have concerns that their ballots don't get to them in time, and that the current state of our statute will not allow them in this scenario to get it back on time. It must be received by the county recorder by 7 p.m. on Election Day. That doesn't mean a postmark, that it has to be in the hands of the county recorder's office by 7 p.m. on Election Day for it to be counted. We have open litigation on that. We'll see what happens. There was a judgment in Pennsylvania today indicating that they're going to have to count ballots there that are received with no postmark days after Election Day. So hopefully that's going to be appealed. I think that's a recipe for chaos. That is not the current state of law in Arizona. In Arizona, at the present time, and hopefully throughout this election cycle and the next, the ballot must be received by 7 p.m. on Election Day. So don't drop it in the mail. I wouldn't drop it in the mail after the 25th of October. I think the guidelines somewhere like they say the 27th, but given the volume that I think we can expect to see in this election, you might want to do it earlier. And of course, early vote centers, they're everywhere. Drop it at the vote center, you know it's there. You have dropped it, you know it's there, you know it's going to get counted.
And what's good about it is that the state, all around the state, all the commercials, all the news media, they're constantly harping on that, on the deadline. And after the deadline, they're telling people, take it to your nearest polling place. Don't take it to the post office because it may not get there in time. It's a constant ad now that goes out with the Secretary of State's office and the Maricopa County elections, and it's pretty widespread. If you don't hear it,
President Trump helped sign the bill to get the money to get that alert out to the people, so they knew exactly how to get that ballot back. Thank you, POTUS.
There you go. What if somebody, what if I wanted to drop off George's ballot? Could I do that?
So, tricky question. In Arizona, we have a ballot harvesting ban. The law is very specific about who is allowed to drop off someone else's ballot. Now, in practice, there is no enforcement provision in that law. So, if somebody comes and drops multiple ballots in a bin inside the polling center, or in a drop box, or in a mailbox, or in a drive-through, there is no law allowing you to check identification of the person dropping it, and there is no enforcement provision to allow you to stop somebody. You cannot interfere with anybody's right to vote. So part of the importance of the poll observer program, as a poll observer, you would never interfere with the voting process. You do not ever speak to the voter. You are there in your designated area in the polling center. The only person you communicate with is the inspector. You present your credentials to the inspector. If you believe that there's a problem, and we're smiling, happy people, even with our Democrat, we're smiling, happy people, because we know we're going to win, and God loves us, so we're smiling, happy people. You would go to the inspector and say, hey, I noticed this problem. If the inspector does not resolve it to your satisfaction, you step outside the polling place and you call us. We have a hotline, okay? We'll have that number set up. People that are handing out golden tickets, our wonderful LD chairs, our county chairs across the state, they stand outside the 75-foot electioneering line, because you never want to electioneer for anybody. 75 feet within the polling place. Outside the 75-foot line, when they're handing out the golden tickets, we will ask them to hand out our 800 number for the hotline, so the voters know if something happens that concerns them, they can call us. Call us on the hotline. We're in the war room. Pretty cool. I'm picturing like the Apollo landing. I don't know. I've never done this before. But we have legal staff. We communicate with the election directors and the county recorders. Again, they're our partners. They work very hard. People are in this for the right reason, the majority of people. That doesn't mean there won't be a poll worker who's a paid poll worker that might go rogue and decide, I'm not going to check ID, or might start checking ID for people dropping off. And that's why we're there. You know, we're there to be that extra safeguard in the process, to observe, to report to the inspector. If the inspector doesn't resolve it, you call the hotline. We will triage it. We'll say, okay, this is something that's a normal part of the process. Don't be concerned. If it is a concern, I or one of our wonderful volunteer attorneys will get on the phone with the elections director or the county recorder. If we still cannot resolve the issue, there's communication. The legal team that, if major points of crisis, if the voting center doesn't open, if the ballot on demand printer dies, if the people are out on the line and it's an hour and a half, if people get on the line after 7 p.m., they must not be allowed to vote unless a judge orders it extended. If you're on the line at 7, you're allowed to vote. If you get on the line at 7:30, you're not allowed to vote unless there's been an order, okay? If any of those things happen, we will go to court. That's we will attempt to resolve it, and if we can't resolve it, we will litigate.
And that's happened many times.
And that's happened many times.
Wow. Any predictions? You want to make any predictions for the election?
So, giant red wave victory
Yeah.
is, I think, what I can
like
predict.
that.
I think that's definitely going to happen. I think people are paying attention. My personal political opinion, yeah, I really don't see many sane people voting for that ticket. I don't think their platform on the other side, I don't think their record, I don't think their candidates, I don't think there's anything about them that is appealing to virtually anyone. And I think you see that in the lack of people attending any event for that side of the aisle. All of the passion, all of the excitement, all of the energy, all of the hopes, prayers, dreams for our future are on our side of the aisle. I think we're going to have a gigantic turnout. I do think.
A landslide.
It's a landslide, baby. I do. You heard it here.
I've been saying it for
I'm
a long
telling you.
time.
I do think over the top. I do think that
We have to do it.
we have to do it because
prove-
everything's on the line.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have options,
Yeah.
right? I think it's an existential election.
If it's a tie, then it becomes a big headache for Trump and for all the Republicans. If it's a landslide, it's better because it's
It
a
is.
convincing message to the people, the doubters, the
It is.
people that want to cause problems. Hey, he won by a landslide. They won by a landslide.
Right.
All these Republican candidates won by a landslide. You're going to get some that are going to be
Decisive,
close.
but
You're going to
that's
be
right.
some candidates are going to be close, but that's history.
That's right.
But our presidential and our top tickets have to win by a nice.
A decisive victory to shut down the argument from their side. And that's another reason we observe. We can attest to the validity of the election results, okay? If we were there and there was no problem and nobody reported it, don't come back later and tell us you think that we somehow, edged our way to victory in a nefarious manner. I will say in 2018, historically speaking in Arizona, Republicans vote early and they mail their ballots back early. That is not happening in this cycle because of some of the concerns about fraud. In the primary, Republicans held on to their mail ballots. Democrats are signing up for the permanent early voter list. Democrats mailed their ballots back. If you looked at the results that first came in, it was blue, okay? And that's because our people held their ballots and dropped them at the end. And so at the end, there was a red surge. So if you remember in 2018, we started out red. Things looked really great for a couple of days. But then all those last minute Democratic votes turned us blue. If we have a huge wave, I think it will be red all night long. If our people hold their ballots and drop them on election day, it's going to take days to count those. So you might see blue and then turn red. The exact inverse of 2018. So have faith, have spirit, pray, vote, volunteer to be a poll observer, sign up to be a poll worker, get out the vote for our candidates. Please vote the whole ticket. There are judges up for retention. I know that ticket's long, but we
It'd be a
need
long
you.
ballot,
We
big
need
long
you
ballot.
all the way, baby. You got to be in it to win it. Defendyourballot.com.
Now, did you have a question, Julie? Great. Julie has a
Yes.
question.
Hey.
Come on up and ask.
So, with what you know, and with all the people from California moving over here,
Yes.
do you think that they're moving here because they want to things better and to be
I hear
We
I
only
hear
need,
that.
like this.
This wonderful young
You're
man.
in charge of that.
So it's like anything else. So there are people. I moved here from New York City when I was 24, and the longer I was here, and loved the freedom, the more and more conservative I became. Churchill once said, "If you're not liberal of heart when you're young, you're heartless, and if you're not conservative when you're older, you're brainless." Something to that effect. So normally people become more conservative as they age because of the responsibilities of life. The Gen Y and the millennials, in part because of the economic collapse, have not had the opportunity, and student loans, I'll just tell you right now, they're getting crushed. They haven't bought a house, they can't get married, they can't move out of their parents' house, so they are not going through the same phases of life that other generations went through. So about 37% of the electorate in the 2020 cycle is the Gen Z millennials, and their top two issues are climate change and student loans. But we are still the majority of the electorate, and particularly in Arizona. I think there are two kinds of people in the world. I think there are people who learn from their mistakes and start anew and change their behavior to get a different result. And those are the people who come here, become more conservative, come here, register as Republican, flee the results of the terrible decisions that they made, okay, and will vote with us. And then there are people who take no responsibility for their actions, think everything is the fault of somebody else. And so, no, I think some of them are going to come here, and some of them are wealthy, and they'll come and move into a very lovely area and vote for the exact same policies that destroyed the area they left. So again, I know, well, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? But I really think that even people that were previously blue-collar Democrats or moderate Democrats or union workers, we used to call them ethnic Democrats. You know, I was raised Catholic, I'm Irish and Italian, I'm from the East Coast, you know, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. These people voted for the president in 2016 before he showed us what he would do. Now he's done everything he said. The economy needs to be rebuilt. We need security, we need law and order. I just cannot conceive of the blue-collar working class of this country and the Latino community who believes in faith and family and opportunity and all of us and need growth. I truly believe that they are with us, that they are with the president, and that they will vote with us. I really do not think there's anything to fear. God loves us.
That's a great conservative commercial right there. Awesome. Before I let Gina go, any questions or anything? You've been
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
We'll
It's
have
an
you
honor.
back.
Thank you.
Keep us posted.
Thank you, my lady.
All right.
God
Take
bless
care.
you.
All right.
Defendyourballot.com.
Thanks. Defendyourballot.com. Gina Savoda. And I just want to invite you to. I think we have one more guest to talk to, and she's going to hang around for a little while. You can ask questions. I was just going to do that. And also, don't forget, I know some of you are eating, but there's food back there. Jamie's taking care of. There's some wonderful food, chips and salsa. So
Chips
please
and
help
salsa
yourself.
over there.
Right on. So our next guest is Monica Yelin. Oh, she's not going to be on? Never mind. Okay, never mind. Forget what I said. Can we cut that, Steve? No. Okay. So no, she cannot.
She can,
We
she's
can't
gonna
do it.
talk, but we can't put her, we could just say.
Oh, we're going to have a mystery. We're going to have the voice but no face.
No,
You can talk about me,
Yeah.
talk about her.
I can talk about
afterwards.
you. Oh.
but I cannot be on camera.
Oh, okay. All
But
right.
we'd like to use the set still, but not
Okay.
on.
No, not recording if it's
Okay,
all right.
because
not a
they
problem.
didn't give me permission.
No problem.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Go.
Great.
Is that okay?
So right now we have the camera going. So
Okay.
So
wait,
Ms.
we
Monica,
know your temperature's good.
we
All right.
also have something here.
So what we're gonna do then, I guess we're gonna end the show unless anybody else has a question for us before we end the actual broadcast of the show. This is the Chips and Salsa Show. I'm Alice Lara,
I'm Jorge.
Don Jorge, we like to
Jorge.
call him.
And like I was telling them, I do work for the county recorder's office starting October the 7th. For the 27 days, I have 5 centers, and they're in this area actually, that I do. I think they're going to be in this center because they're going to give me this 3 that I had plus 2 more, and we're thinking they're going to give us 1 or 2 more besides that. I go to each center. I make sure the inspector is doing their job. I make sure there's no problems. I make sure there's no hiccups. If there is, I have to resolve them. And I've been doing this for quite a long time. So,
So if you have any questions for him,
Yeah.
make sure you ask him questions because he has a lot of knowledge about that. But we're on every Tuesday at 4 p.m. and you can find us on our Facebook page, Chips, Letter, and Salsa Show. People are late. All right, thank you. And then also, right now we're on YouTube, so you go Chips and Salsa Show, and you can find us on YouTube as well. Thank you, Steve Palmer, for filling in. Thank you, audience. Please hang tight, because we're going to have to talk to a few more people still. And anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Walk on, and thank you very much for being our audience and for asking questions. And